Lads, welcome to the podcast. Let me start off by saying that I feel both happy and honoured that you're joining me today. When I first came across your Instagram page and I saw that you were cycling around Australia, I thought, this is pretty amazing. Then I read it was 14,100 or 250 kilometres round trip. And I thought, what a great escape from reality, right? You get to visit all these places around Australia. You get to take a mate with you, all whilst keeping fit. That's a decent 6-month trip, right? Then I read a little bit further and I saw that you're planning on doing it in 50 days with an average of 285 kilometers traveled per day. No rest days, may I add. And I went from an exciting, oh, what an amazing trip, to you have got to be shitting me. These guys are crazy. I need to speak to them. But the truth is, as I mentioned, I've kept up to date with the Instagram stories, with the journey so far. And to be honest, I feel inspired by not only the hard work you're putting in, but to me, the mental fortitude that you are both showing through what I can only assume must be one of the hardest things you guys have ever attempted to do. Now, before we get into the specifics of the journey ahead, why don't we start by getting to know a bit about Ben and Jay? Where are you boys from? What was your upbringing like? And how did you end up in Sydney? And please don't tell me you swam here, because that would just be crazy. Yeah.
Firstly, mate, I've got to say, I'm glad that you've been on a similar journey to I have, to thinking, this is going to be a good trip, to realising 50 days ain't a long time. But I'm glad we've been on similar journeys. But no, it's all good. So look, as that, I grew up in Cumbria in the UK, so it's very northwest, it's very rural, it's very much mountainous. The Lake District is the district, and it's a very nice, picturesque place, but there's not an awful lot there to do. So I was there for 17 or 18 years. Played a lot of rugby, a lot of sports in the time. Then I moved down to Sheffield, a bigger city, still in the north of England. Studied university there, and after several years, finished my degree. Then eventually did a lot of travelling and ended up in Sydney. Ended up on the beach of Bondi with not a penny to my name, me and my partner. And we ended up staying here, finding a home and loving it. So we've been here for maybe 5 or 6 years. 6 years, I think, coming up 6 years in January. So we absolutely love it. We call this place our home, and it's definitely changed the pace of where we were. But it's as I say, it's our home now, and we've got a dog here. We've settled in. I mean, that's pretty much a child these days. So we've made this place our home. So that's how we end up in Sydney. I
guess my story is similar and different. So I'm originally from a place called Northampton in the UK. I come from a first generation English. My parents came over from Jamaica when they were 16 and 14 years old. Went through high school, went through university, did plumbing. I've traveled a lot around Europe, but I kind of left the UK because I was in the same sort of routine. There was a lot of bad memories through various things that had happened through my life, through friends passing away and stuff like that. And I was just looking for a bit of a change. I met a girl at the time. The relationship wasn't really the best relationship, but she wanted to travel and go to Asia. And I kind of that was like a kind of a little sign for me to go, hey, why not? I'll just go and travel as well. That relationship didn't work out, but I managed to travel Asia. I did that for around 6.5 months and then didn't really want to go home. So landed in Sydney and I've been here ever since. And this is my new home. I do get more homesick as I get older and I'm away from my parents, and that I start to forget about the routine and stuff that I was in the UK. But yeah, the city's now my home and I'm loving it here.
Yeah, nice, boys. Well, at what point did you guys end up meeting here in Sydney?
So I'd we, as I say, we landed here in Bondi, and as I say, didn't have a lot of money to my name, but my friend was actually living here as well at the time, and he was actually just about to go and do his farm work. So it happened by chance that he was off to do his farm work, and as he was leaving a shared house, and he said to the owner of the house, said, "Look," the landlord said, "Look, I've got 2 friends here. Can they take my room?" So we moved in, and that's where I met Jay and his partner. So we met there in a shared house in Bondi Junction. So
Yeah, nice. And you've stayed there ever since, like at Bondi or within the eastern suburbs?
No, we've we were there together for about 6 months together, roughly. And then we both moved. I think we moved down to, me and my partner moved down to Maroubra, still on the obviously east coast, eastern suburbs, and then subsequently I've moved into Piedmont. Jay went slightly different.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I went straight to Surrey Hills, and I've been in Surrey Hills just ever since. Same place.
Yeah, well, both brilliant places around the city of Sydney, so I imagine you guys enjoy it and have a great time there. Throughout this whole process, like, what actually led you guys to deciding mental health awareness and the journey that you're embarking on? Was it like a particular experience? Did you guys experience mental health issues yourself, or what actually drove you to making that decision?
I guess the two types, the cycling and the mental health, they're kind of different things. I mean, from the mental health aspect is my own battles with mental health, and I've said it a couple of times with some friends that I lost at the end of 2019, start 2020, all to suicide. And it's kind of that point I started talking about my own struggles and hopefully trying to make a bit of a difference. And then this kind of cycling idea, which Ben came up with originally, that it kind of came hand in hand. I think you touched on it at the start as well, where the kind of mental strength that you need to do this kind of event like this, that's where they kind of they link with the mental strength, where people are kind of battling depression, anxiety, 365 days a year. So Ben kind of can explain a little bit more how the cycling idea and how stupid I was signing up to it. But
yeah, so the cycling came about. The reason why I sort of thought of cycling and the reason why we're doing this as a cycle challenge is, firstly and foremost, cycling is faster than running. You get further and you don't have to spend as long on the road. Secondly, it's been an inspiration from somebody that I was listening to online, and he provided basically just a reaction in me that said, well, if this guy can do it, then why can't I? Which then led to digging into it a little bit and picking an idea of, okay, well, what's the biggest thing we can do here now in Australia? At the time, it was COVID. Everything was in lockdown. You couldn't really go too far away from your house. So it was trying to find the biggest thing that we could possibly do, with the understanding that international travel was going to be a limit, or restricted at least. So yeah, the biggest thing I could think of was cycling around Australia. It doesn't really get much bigger than that in here. So I looked into it a little bit and found out that it actually is a thing that can be done. So I took that idea down to Jay and said, look, I'm going to cycle around Australia. And he said, yeah, I'm in. What wasn't apparent at the time, or what was actually very apparent at the time, but has been glossed over a little bit, is that neither one of us A, owned a bike, or B, had been on a bike for a considerable amount of time. So we committed to cycling around Australia before we'd even put a pedal to the floor, really. So it was a good start.
Right, I can imagine that'd be quite daunting trying to figure all that stuff out. One thing that you mentioned before that, this is back in the UK for Jay, when he said that there was a few moments when, he had lost a couple of friends and stuff like that. I can imagine how difficult that would be. I haven't personally experienced any suicide amongst any of my close friends, but I've definitely experienced, being around family and friends that have had extreme breakdowns, anxiety, stress. And at the time that those things happened, I unfortunately wasn't aware of the cause and effects, nor the best way to handle the situation. At the time, I thought I'd make a joke in the hope that their focus could be led away from what they were going through. But I look back now and I realize how unprepared I was to deal with that. And instead of being a clown, what the person really needed was someone that understood them, that could calm them down and reassure them that everything was going to be okay. And I wish I had that knowledge back then. But I can say now that unless I had experienced those moments personally, I probably wouldn't. I guess I'd still have some sort of ignorance towards mental health issues and how severe they can be. Do you guys feel that throughout your journey of experiencing anxiety, stress, and any of those sort of things, or even with your friends, that you're more, I guess, equipped and aware now of what you can do to help others and help yourselves moving forward?
Yeah, just before Jay touches on this, because he's better at talking about this sort of thing than probably I am, but even, and I'm sure Jay will touch on it, is that even from the start of this, when we started back in April to now, my understanding and knowledge and learning of mental health and the difficulties that people go through, and understanding the differences and how that sort of affects people has been an exponential learning curve. It's been incredibly insightful for me for that journey, and that's something that I wasn't necessarily expecting to get from this, and it's been insightful tenfold. But yeah, Jay's better at talking about this than probably I am, a bit more experienced.
Yeah, look, I mean, like I touched on the passion of my friends recently, and this is the reason why I've started talking about my own kind of battles and stuff like that. I think I look at it more now that I honestly think it can happen to anyone. Some people it's kind of genetic, and it's they battle all their lives, and there's some people that certain things can trigger. I was saying to you guys about when I, high school and became a plumber and stuff like that. During my plumbing apprenticeship, there's a guy called Kieran. We got an apprenticeship at the same time. We went to college together. We managed to get a job, and getting an apprenticeship in the UK is extremely difficult. One day, me and Kieran were driving to work. We used to take it in turns. I would drive one week, he would drive the other week. And we're driving to work one day and arrive at work. Kieran, he gets put with a different tradesman, and my tradesman calls in sick that day. So I'm like, yeah, I get to go out with Kieran for the day. He's like one of my best mates. Get to go out with him. Kieran's tradesman, he was in a rush. They left, and I got placed with somebody else. And I remember we were driving back to the office, and I got a phone call loudspeaker on the van. I was like 17, 18 years old, whatever. I can't remember the age. And I got a call saying Kieran had been in a car accident. Kieran and Alan had been in a car accident on the A14, this highway. And they said that Kieran had died. And it didn't even sink in. Like I heard on loudspeaker, it didn't even sink in. Took me back to the office, and I drove home that day without Kieran in the car. And that day, in the morning, we were laughing and joking about payday, all that type of stuff. And that kind of triggered this depression that went on for months and months. And there's been loads of stuff that's happened over my 34 years of of life. And now, as I'm getting older, I start talking about things that are more. And I'm kind of grateful for, in a weird way, I'm grateful for people that have passed away recently, because now I'm actually talking about this stuff that's happened. A lot of people don't know the things that have happened over the year, and it might be the reason why I act a certain way now, or whatever. But now I'm starting to talk about that. I can see the signs when people are suffering from depression, and that kind of I guess gives me that ability to adapt and try and look out for the signs and try and help. But that's me and Ben share the same kind of outlook of that. We want people to talk and be open and have that environment where they don't feel like they're going to be judged. Because like a lot of the time before, I wouldn't even talk about this stuff because I would feel like I'm going to be judged. But now I'm at the point where I don't even care, to be honest. If people can hear a story of mine and they can take something from it, or if they can hear it from Ben's perspective, where he's coming from that neutral thing where he may not be that educated about mental health, but he's learning about it throughout this journey. I think we're both coming from very positive angles. I
truly feel, how can I put this into the best way for people to understand? I feel overwhelmed generally because the closest person to me is my best mate, and he suffers from an anxiety disorder, I guess you could say. He's gone through a battle over the probably best part of 10 years or something like that. And witnessing somebody get to the lowest point it's strange, because not experiencing it myself, I guess I would most be able to be more like in Ben's position, where you haven't experienced it yourself. You can't understand truly what it feels like to go through all that stuff. And to hear someone like Jay, who's experienced it himself, and explain how it makes him feel, and for you to be able to open up, it's such a vulnerable thing to do. But if that's what it takes to allow yourself to get through these hard moments, if that's what it takes to allow somebody else to learn about it, I think educating yourself is probably the most important aspect of this whole process. I think that's the reason why people don't have a good understanding of anything in life, because they lack that education. We're all products of our, I guess, awareness of what we're, or what our surroundings are like. You know, I've grown up with my own surroundings, which, you know, I come from a background of a Latin family. So my, I guess my beliefs, my morals, they're based on my surroundings and how I grew up. I'm sure that'd be different to the way you guys grew up, you know? So sharing stories and sharing experiences and sharing journey and knowledge and you know, laughs like this, and that's what allows you to open up your mind to different perspectives and be educated in what this subject really truly can, you know, the power of this subject of mental health as well. So I'm glad that you guys are doing this. It's a difficult thing as well for me as a father, because I wonder one day, man, am I going to have to deal with this with my kids? Because right now I feel like I'm learning as I go. Even speaking to you today, I'm learning more as I go. And I think that it's important for me to do that, because I may not suffer from it personally, but I may have to deal with this on a secondhand level, you know, and with all the pressures that people face with, you know, society the way it is at the moment, with the pressures of social media and the expectations that people have these days. I don't know what it's going to be like. My kid's only 2 years old. I don't know what it's going to be like in 10 years, 15 years time. But no, I'm glad that you guys are doing it, and I have great respect for the achievement that you're trying to make. So with Boomerang Loop, how does that link up with the journey itself? Like, obviously you're trying to raise some money right now. And you have roughly 2 months to go till the date that you take off?
So this Friday will mark 7 weeks till we start.
Wow.
It was, those weeks keep ticking over a lot faster than I was expecting, to be honest with you, Henry. But look, it's all exciting. There's still a lot to plan. And it's getting closer. It's getting closer.
And how have you found the response from like the public, your family, your friends, in regards to going on this crazy journey?
Yeah, look, I think Ben's probably said the same thing. We've explained it so many times, and we've said what we're doing to me, but we still get the same kind of looks of like, what, that many? And then we have to kind of break it down. Okay, yeah, it's 14,000. Okay, no, it's 50. Right, okay, it's the equivalent to Sydney to Canberra, and then you have to break it down. We still get the big shocks. The feedback at the start wasn't that positive from some of the cycling community. I feel maybe they kind of thought we were, disrespecting the sport, coming in with these kind of lads just drop it in and thinking that we can cycle around Australia.
To be fair, we didn't have bikes, so it's kind of
yeah, we're a bit naive. Yeah,
makes sense.
But now I think like people can see the genuine work that we've put in, from the training, from the diet, even down to social media, marketing. Like we're doing everything by ourselves. Like we are like financial advisors. We're doing the whole project is just Ben and myself. That's it. We haven't got any marketing team. We haven't got any flash kind of So a lot of people don't see that as well, but they are seeing glimpses of the training and stuff like that. And I think we hopefully gaining people's respect from the amount of work that we've put in over the last 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah, definitely. It's
that turnaround as well has definitely sort of happened. But people, as Jay says, people see what we're trying to do, and that sort of, as Jay says, the respect and the appreciation for what it is that we're trying to do. And it's now come to a point where people, such as yourself, reaching out and wanting to help in any way that they possibly can do, and that's really nice to see. And it's heartfelt, and it means a lot. It really does mean a lot to us, because at the end of the day, we're just two relatively normal blokes who just want to cycle around Australia and try and raise as much money and awareness for mental health as possible. Like that's the crux of it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I think that you're deserving of every accolade, and the more people that can help, the better. It doesn't hurt anybody helping out, so why not, if you can. Now, I know that you mentioned 285 Ks per day. Is that a decision you decided to make on your own, or do you guys have like a team coach, or did you speak to people that have cycled these distances, and why no rest days as well? Like it's a lot.
There's a few reasons behind this. Firstly, the route itself is 14,250 kilometers, which has been mentioned. In a bit of the research, I found that the world record was 38 days to do this. Now, not to take away, that's an incredible achievement. So because at the time we looked at this, as I say, we didn't have bikes, we were not cyclists, and we were an awful lot heavier than we are now. We decided to add 12 days onto that to make it a nice round 50 days. It's easy for maths and it's easy for everything else. So hence the 50 days. But we have given ourselves a little bit of contingency. We've given ourselves sort of 7 days just in case for the extremes, but the goal is 50 days and we'll be hell-bent on getting that. Another reason for that is that we are due to get back on the 7th of October, which is Friday, the 7th of October. The 17th of October, which is 10 days later, we both start back at work. So we don't have much time to take off as too much contingency. So we can't be dawdling.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where we're at with it.
So you've run out of holidays, basically. Is that?
Got no holidays to start
with. Just taking some time off. So how does your nutrition work and stuff like that? Do you have someone helping you with that, or are you on a strict diet right now that mirrors what you will be eating on a daily basis whilst on the bikes? Or
no. No, we're on a good diet now. We're on a strict diet now.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of from Gabby from the gym. She gave. So with the CrossFit gym that we attend, she gave us she studied at university, so she kind of gave us like a bit of a guide to a diet, and we've adjusted to suit. Mm-hmm. But I think when we're on the road, we're just going to eat everything.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult, to be honest with you, Henry. Like, our diet is relatively strict, but it's strict in the loosest of terms. So the way that we are intaking food when we're on the road is when we're actually cycling and riding, a lot of it, majority of it is through liquid-based calories. So it's carbohydrates, it's simple forms of carbohydrates that you mix into your drink, and it then provides your calories that you need. The reason why it's in liquid is because then it gets absorbed by the blood faster, can then go, to the right areas quicker. If we were to eat that, then the blood from your body then has to be used in your stomach as well. So to avoid overuse of, we need as much of that blood to go to our legs. That's a working muscle. So to avoid, to maintain efficiency, a lot of it's liquid. As soon as we get off the bike, it's a lot of it's anything and everything that we can eat to an extent. There is obviously a calorie limit within those hours to hours, but it's technical. It's not, but yeah, it's majority of it is liquid, and it's being fueled by liquid calories, which is not exciting. It's also not something that we're too keen on trialing out too much before we go, but we have done bits of it, and we are making sure that we can stomach everything. But yeah, it's not something that we're going to be putting ourselves on for the next 7 weeks, trialing it before we go.
Yeah, I can imagine. So what's your recovery routine like at the moment? And is the recovery routine you have now also emulating the recovery process you will be facing whilst on the road?
So the recovery is based on how we are sort of training, how we're feeling. We do use massage guns nightly, stretching pretty much nightly, recovery boots, that sort of thing. We also do try and do sort of saunas and ice baths and heated baths quite semi-regularly as much as we can. And again, occasional massages and stuff where we can fit it in. The days are only 24 hours long, unfortunately, and there's not a lot of time in between the working day, the training day, and the eating day to fit in too much more. But we are trying to make sure that everything is as good as it possibly can be for where we're currently at. Sleep is really important for that as well, and trying to maintain a good sort of sleeping habit is also high on the list for our recovery. So these are all things that we are taking on board. When we're on the road, it'll be, again, for recovery, it'll be back to the massage guns, the boots, and where we can get a massage for someone to come out, or if we can manage to get a physio to come along as well. That's our recovery. And again, sleep and eating. It's quite simple, but that's generally what it is.
Yeah, nice. And you completed Hurl Week, which is it's over just a week ago. And yes. I think that's been my favorite part of the whole process, because you were posting all your kilometers every single day. And I think there was one day where you were on the bike for 11 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
And and he wasn't even 285 Ks, I don't think, on that particular day. But
I had a nightmare with that one, to be honest. That was a bit of a disaster from all angles. I was on the bike. I think I ended up being on the bike for around 12 hours. And I think I covered 200K. And it was I got up really early to make sure I was going to be on time for a boat. Turns out the boat wasn't coming. And so I was there for an hour and a half longer than I should have been. Set off to go somewhere else. The wharf was closed. Had to go somewhere else, and it was a nightmare. But it was, it's all part and parcel of the experience. But now Hell Week was good. Good. It's a strong
an eye opener more than anything.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, doing 11, 12 hours on a stationary bike.
Yeah,
it's not fun. There's only so much YouTube and Netflix you can watch.
Yeah, I bet you finished both already. So
well, I don't have any of this. Because when we're on the home trainer, I use my phone for the apps to be able to track where I'm at.
Right.
So I can't turn that off to go on to anything else. So I sit in a room and watch people either train, and that's it. So I'm there for 10 hours just on my own.
Wow.
Pedaling away, counting tiles.
Well, I mean, it's obvious to see how you're preparing physically. There's a lot of hours of physical activity to get your body accustomed to riding daily and building that endurance, I guess. But how are you preparing mentally for this?
It's funny you say that because this week I've got to the point where obviously doing, Hell Week and training and high volume and stuff like that, getting to the point where it's at the, it could be at that unhealthy point of overtraining. So this week I'm going to try and still go on the bike, but more of a recovery ride and just listen to my body, because I am quite tired through my day-to-day job as well. I do quite long hours from my job, and obviously training after work, and just trying to fall back in love with cycling and not too heavy focused on all the training all the time. So this week it's kind of looking after my physical health, but also, like getting back to that mental strength of like, yeah, I'm excited to cycle. I'm excited to get on the road in August. So yeah, this week's kind of like going to be a nice little break of just looking after myself, the saunas, the recovery, still a little bit of cycling, but just, lighter, and then back into the kind of hardcore training next week.
We also have done, like, as well, along the whole journey of this, we've set ourselves, and this is part of the mental challenges for us, and it's been from day one that we've done this. From the first time that we set out to say, look, we're going to do this, the first thing that we did was we sat on, again, reiterating the point that we didn't own bikes, we sat on an assault bike. They're a wind turbine driven bike, basically, and they're full always resistance. So the first day we sat on one of them for 8 hours, and we did 250k. And that was, from nothing to sitting on one of them for 8 hours. Then the next month, by that point, I think we'd maybe got bikes or something like that. And I think our first ride out, we tried to do 160k, 140k, or whatever it was. And again, that was just, we've not been on bikes before. It was our first ride out. So we just decided to do it, to see if we could. We did everything wrong. From what we've learned now, we didn't take it. I think we took one drink bottle and two like sort of energy gels with us, and sure enough, we were horrendous by the end of it, and we were hanging on for dear life. But we did it. I think the month after that, we tried to do. Oh, the month after that, I think we did
lockdown.
Yeah, lockdown. Yeah, so we could only go 5k from our house. So fortunately enough, we could get to Centennial Park in Sydney. I think it's a 3.8 kilometre loop. We did 321k around a 3.8 kilometre loop. So it's 87 laps of Centennial Park. Just all of these sort of things are to challenge you mentally, to make sure that you can, well, not to make sure, it's just to prove to yourself that you can do these things, and you set yourself a goal of doing this thing. So, okay, today I'm going to do X. You can do it. You just got to keep going. The next one after that, we set ourselves back-to-backs 160s, which is a bit more in line with what we were trying to do for the actual route. It's just about constantly challenging ourselves and constantly making sure, so that when it does get to a hard point, when we're day 26 and we're struggling, we can fall back on that knowledge that we've already put in the hard work and the hard graft in the months previous and the months leading up to this. And we know that we can get through it. We just got to keep going. And it's going to be horrendous. There's going to be times when it's going to be absolutely horrendous. But we've experienced that on lap 43 of going around Centennial Park, thinking that we were going to fall off because we were so dizzy and felt sick and whatever else. But we still got to the end of it. So it's that sort of mentality and trying to embed that into your head constantly.
Has the mental struggle been the biggest challenge for you guys so far, or have you found something else that you've had to deal with that you weren't expecting?
For me, it's the mental struggle. The mental struggle has been the hardest part of all of it, because at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is turn the crank on a bike. Now, if somebody came up to me and said, turn the crank on the bike once, you could do it. No one's going to turn around to me to say you can't do that. Of course, I can turn it over. But when you're 13 hours in, and the last thing, all you want to do is get off, eat, get something to eat, to drink, just get warm or whatever, just get off the bike. And somebody says, turn the crank, you can still do it, but your head's telling you not. And that for me has been the hardest thing. I don't know about you, Jay, but I'd definitely say it's been the hardest thing.
Yeah, I mean, even on that 321 kilometer ride around Centennial, there's a couple of key moments where I was looking at Ben, and I had energy, and Ben's energy was just sapped, and then it switched, and Ben had loads of energy, and then my energy was sapped, and it was just kind of like we were looking at each other and just saying like, just keep pedaling, just keep pedaling, just keep turning crank, and then you get through it. It's weird moment where you have no energy whatsoever, but you just keep turning your legs, and then somehow you get a burst of energy again. It's like your body just adapts. So those weird moments as well, which I've kind of accepted now. But yeah, when we're on the road as well, I don't know how that's going to be when we're on the road, and we've got to kind of do that like day on day out. But that's been a good part of this whole test and this kind of process we've been going through over the last 18 months of like things like that, key moments, knowing our bodies, knowing how to communicate with each other as well.
Man, to be honest, I love the confidence you both have. Like, it's great to see, and I think it's important that you believe in the fact that you're going to accomplish this journey. Like, to believe in yourself is so powerful, and without that, it makes it so much more harder. People tend to confuse the confidence with arrogance, and they don't understand that to achieve something as special as this and as challenging as this, it takes a very strong mindset. And you have that in spades. For me, I wanted to really find out what has been like the biggest inspiration during the process. Have you found that inspiration in just each other, or is there something else that keeps you pushing?
So yeah, there's been a number of things, to be honest with you. They pop up in weird times. There's different things that pop up and different things that inspire you. Initially, as I say, the initial thing that inspired this whole trip is Dean starting his ride. I'm sure you'll be able to find that. If anybody's listening, they can find that and listen to that. But that was the initial inspiration for this whole thing, and a lot of credit for that, from my perspective, has to go to him for this whole thing kicking off. But there's a couple months down the line from us getting going, we reached out to a coach because we don't know what we're doing. So we reached out to a coach, and we had quite a strongly worded, very much thought out email response that explained every reason and more as to why we weren't going to be able to do this, and why we couldn't do this, and why we were going to blow up at the first hurdle, and this, that, and the other. Now that to me was an instant sort of inspiration, because I loved that. I thought it was great. It pumped me up to a point of I could have gone the next day. To be honest, I couldn't have, but I felt like I could go the next day. There's different things of even to the different people, listening to people's different stories from a mental health background, and realizing that what we're doing is potentially touching them. I mean, we set up on Harris Street. I'm not sure if you've seen, but we did a few pop-ups where we just set up on a street and just started riding on our trainers, but with people around and stuff like that. And we had after about half an hour of us riding, a woman came up to us and with a child and started telling her story, and she was in tears by the end of it, and she was telling us about her personal story of her misfortunes and sadness that she'd had to go through with her direct family that had been mental health related. So those sort of stories as well, again, provide inspiration. It's not just one source, it's multiple different things and multiple different bits of people achieving different things or have been through different things. And you have to, depending on your mindset that you're in, you have to draw on some of that in a different way. If you're feeling, ready to go and aggressive, then there's certain things that I go into in my mind and draw on to be able to get me through certain places. If I'm not feeling particularly great and I'm pretty low, there's another locker in my brain that I go to and try and draw inspiration from. And it's all these small different things, whether it's small or big, they're just ammo to be used in certain times.
Yeah. I think there'll be plenty of challenges along the way. And, if you can find inspiration, especially in people that come up to you and share their stories, I think there'll be moments where you'll reflect on that and definitely use it to keep you going. There's going to be lots of different challenges, such as, weather, the terrain, wildlife maybe. Hopefully you don't get kicked off the bike by a kangaroo. Maybe an emu would be cool, race you to the finish. I was going to suggest why not ride in a tandem bike. It might be easier. But maybe, if one of you have a bad stomach, you wouldn't want to be the guy on the back. So maybe you don't need that extra breeze.
I spend enough time looking at Jay's bum to be too close for that, to be honest.
All right, so gentlemen, we have a target of $100,000 that you're trying to raise. How close are you hitting to that target, and where will that money go, and how can people reach out to help you achieve that goal?
Look, so realistically, we haven't really started the initial process of raising money for Mindful Oz, which is the charity that we've chosen. Our main focus was to raise the money that we needed to fund the event, because we're having so much time off work. We had motorhomes, we had medical supplies, accommodation, all that type of stuff. Fuel prices have gone through the roof. So we've ticked that off. We've managed to get the funding for that through various sponsors. And then I guess realistically, this Friday, July 1st, we'll probably try and focus on this 100,000. We're sitting at about $4,000, $5,000 at the minute. So obviously a very, very long way to go. But we know that the next 7 weeks and when we're on the road is where most of the donations will come. So if anyone's listening to this or watching this and they want to donate, if you head to our Instagram, Boomerang Loop Au, if you click the link in the bio, that opens up into a big kind of section of all our different links. And there'll be a donation link there where that takes you through to the Go fundraiser page for Mindful Oz. I'll make it a bit more clear on the website this evening so that people are able to donate. But yeah, the goal is 100,000, and that will change a lot of lives and give Mindful Oz the ability to make a big difference.
Yeah, cool. I'm excited to see this ride begin, boys. I feel the more time goes by towards the start date, the more attention you're receiving. And I mean, that's what we're hoping to achieve today. There's been a great response, it seems. And you even had Channel 7 write an article on you, which when that came through, I was excited to see that. I feel happy for you. How did that make you feel, that the progression of your hard work behind the scenes feels like it's starting to pay off?
Yeah, that was a nice, a kind of head nod to say, okay, right, what we're doing is right. The hard work we're putting in through the training, through the social media, through content creation, everything that we're doing behind the scenes is kind of, getting the respect that it kind of deserves. And I'm hoping that with the 7 News and like a podcast like yourself, we can leverage off that and get the more publicity to then change that into large donations and hit that 100,000 target, and if not, go past that 100,000 target.
Well, boys, I know that the process of recovery, the process of doing all the training, and as you both mentioned, that you have work on a daily basis. I don't want to keep you too long, so I wanted to finish off by asking you, on the 7th of October, that's a return date. Yeah. Let's fast forward till then. You finished a trip around Australia. At the moment, you come to the realization that you've accomplished what you set out to achieve. What will that mean to you? And have you thought about where to go from there?
Cheers.
Well, to be honest, I have briefly thought about it, but I stay pretty much focused on what we're doing here now. I can't think about that too far away. Otherwise it becomes overawing. I mean, for me, I concentrate on, when I'm out on the bike, I concentrate on that hour that I'm training, then the next hour, and then the following hour. I try not to think about the overall picture, because you'll dishearten yourself and you'll put yourself back, and it puts you back into a mental spiral. So, yes, I have thought about it, but I don't let myself think about it for too much. Don't get me wrong, it'll be a fun time, but and it'll be an emotional time. But yeah, it's not something that I want to think about too much. And what next is, I'm not sure what. I didn't realize there was a date after the 7th of October. To be honest with you, Henry, I've didn't even realize that the world continued after then. To be honest.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, look, I definitely share that. One day at a time. When we're on the road, one day at a time. I don't really want to look that far ahead at the end date. So it is going to be just trying to tick off 1 hour, one day, at a time. But I have actually thought about stuff after. I do want to continue cycling. Probably won't be cycling around Australia, but it would be good to do an event, or even set up some sort of foundation where other people can do smaller type events. But then, yeah, regarding I mean, we get asked a lot about training. How much training have you put in, so that. But I've had time to think, and it's probably changed since the first podcast with everyone. People have said, you're training. How long have you been training for? But I reckon Ben will probably feel the same. Every kind of thing that we've done over the years, whether that is playing rugby, playing football, or soccer, or basketball, or trail running, anything like that that's been over the years, it's all been with a purpose, and I guess that purpose is this end goal. I'm not saying that my career is going to be over after this ride, but it kind of, every footstep, every pedal stroke, every swimming, everything is kind of coming to this, which would be like a nice kind of end where we go out, and when we set off on that first day, I'm going to be thinking about things like that, and trying not to be thinking about the end date until we get past Melbourne, which is going to be the nightmare for me.
Yeah.
Well, boys, I can't thank you enough for spending some time with me, discussing what I think is going to be an experience of a lifetime for both of you. I'm hoping I can get you back on the podcast once this journey is completed to discuss anything and everything that, about the experience of riding around Australia. You have a fan in me, and I want to wish you the best of luck, not only for the preparation process leading towards the start date, but also throughout the whole Boomerang Loop around Australia. I'm curious, the journey kicks off on the 19th of August. Are you guys are having a send-off where you're welcoming people to come down and see you guys off?
We are, yeah. We're welcoming people down. If you keep an eye out on our socials, we'll definitely have a more of an accurate timing, but we'll be looking to set off at 5 a.m. on the 19th of August, which is quite early. But yeah, look, it's starting. It's the focus. The focus has got to start, and already has been starting for that time. And yeah, it's part and parcel of every day, to be honest with you. So yeah, it's exciting, and it's going around fast. So can't wait.
Yeah, cool. And with those days that you were mentioning where you had the bikes set up in the city, are you having any more of those sort of days where people can come and support you guys and watch you train, or?
I'm not sure at the minute. I mean, it would be good. It would be good to do like one last kind of publicity, or try and get out in the community, because the amazing thing about that was the fact that people opened up, and that's kind of one of the goals that we want to do. So I'm not sure yet. Nothing's kind of organized. Maybe we may do something. We were trying to organize a yoga event, like a sunrise yoga event, which kind of fell through, where we could give that environment of people to open up. But yeah, I don't know if Ben's.
We haven't got anything planned, to be honest, but we may do. I think they've been such a good success, and they've literally been us speaking to people, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. So they have been such a success that we may do. We've just got to make sure that everything's ready for the actual trip, and everything's all set up and ready to go. It takes up a lot of time. But yeah, it would be great if we could, and if we do something like that, then we'll definitely be shouting about it on our socials as well. So yeah, keep an eye out for that, and if we do set something up, we'd love as many people to come down. And if you're around, Henry, it'd be great to have you down as well.
Mate, I'd love to be part of it. If you want me to, I'll come down and cheerlead and grab a crowd and tell them to spend some money on a good cause. So whatever we can do to get you guys there to hit that goal, more than happy to help you out. But yeah, your socials, Instagram, Boomerang Loop Au, and the website, boomerangloopau.com.au. I've donated a bit as well, so everyone listening, please jump on the website. I'll put all the links in the Spotify uplink and YouTube as well, so you can get in touch with the guys if you have any questions and see what's coming up for them. Boys, thank you so much for tonight. I really appreciate the time. that you've taken out.
Thank you for having us, man. I really
thank you.
appreciate you.
No problem. We'll wish you the best of luck, and we'll see you when you get back.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
Bye.